Our world lead, ISIS bearing down on a key Iraqi base with 300 U.S. troops stationed inside today. Around the time of the noon call to prayer in the region, ISIS terrorists rushed the gates of the Al-Asad air base. 8 would-be suicide bombers trying to destroy the perimeter to make a path for more ISIS terrorists. Iraqi and American officials say all of the would-be suicide bombers were killed by Iraqi security forces, but according to the Pentagon, most, if not all of them, were wearing Iraqi military uniforms. Now, the preamble to this attack came just after sunrise today, a little less than 10 miles away, when ISIS militants took control of the town of Al-Baghdadi. Sleeper cells apparently woke up inside the town, seizing control of house after house. An Iraqi official now saying the terrorists control 90% of that town, the base well within range, we should point out, of mortars and Katyusha rockets fired by ISIS. Let's get right to Phil Black. He's in northern Iraq. Phil, Iraqi security forces called for Iraqi reinforcements earlier today. What is happening on the ground there right now? Did they get those reinforcements?
If they did arrive, Jake, it didn't really change the events on the ground. The fighting continued through the day, and come nightfall, it is still very much ISIS that is in control of Al-Baghdadi. Certainly the majority of it, around 90%, as you say there. That gives them a very firm foothold upon which to launch more attacks against that airbase not that far away, and the Pentagon expects that they will do just that. This is just the latest, really, in the many land grabs that ISIS has launched successfully through that western Anbar province of Iraq. It is a region of Iraq where ISIS has stayed on the offensive, on the front foot, and the efforts of the Iraqi army and local Sunni tribes have not been able to slow them down, Jack.
Now, Phil, Iraqi officials tell CNN that ISIS terrorists are already trying to cut off any escape routes from the Ain al-Assad base. They're laying mines and IEDs. So it sounds like the start of a prolonged siege, yes?
Well, it's straight from the ISIS playbook, really. We've seen this at a number of places. It's standard very quickly when ISIS is unable to physically occupy a space themselves. They simply don't have the fighters. Perhaps they are retreating. They very quickly, very efficiently rig explosives across all the buildings in the area set to detonate for when people return. They do the same with roadside bombs and so forth. We've seen huge piles of bombs that have been cleared from areas that were occupied from ISIS. We've also seen whole villages flattened because the forces opposing ISIS don't always have the time, the energy to go through and de-rig them carefully. Sometimes they just blow them safely, but that of course has a serious and devastating effect on the area, and of course they are very effective at taking the enemy's lives as well. ISIS has claimed many lives through using these sorts of devices. It would come as no surprise that they would be doing so around this facility as well, Jack.
Phil Black in northern Iraq.